If you were to ask me my favorite game that I played last year, it probably would have been something like Meat and Fuck Kingdom. And then somewhere behind the Goon Cave mainstay, I'd have said maybe Wilmot's Warehouse? That's only a maybe. After all, it's trying to compete with Outer Wilds as it's swinging its big ol' honkin' top 10 video games of all time penis all over the place. But despite Wilmot's small and simple premise, it left a very strong impression. You are Wilmot, and it's your job to give customers the correct squares. That's it. The game never gets more complicated in its premise than this, and yet as the game pushes forward, it gradually becomes a nightmare of your own creation. While you start out with only 12 different items that someone might ask you for, which you can pretty easily remember the location of, every time you complete a set of requests, you're given 4 more potential items and a new set of stock, all of which is only ever removed when a customer asks for it. Eventually, you have hundreds of items, all of different quantities that you need to remember where that one dumbass put it. The individual thinking that the game starts with quickly evaporates. It's not reasonable to remember items as single objects, and so it's up to you to begin thinking with larger structures that can be broken down, using categories and subcategories so you know exactly where to go when Janet needs 3 Mario Goatsies. While the game controls what you get and what people want, the beauty of Wilmot's Warehouse is that aside from that, everything else is of your own creation. How you choose to store items, in both where they are and why, is purely your choice. You create your own space, which in turn means that you're creating your own problems as you develop your own convoluted reasons as to why camels and fireworks are connected. Really, it's an exploration of your own intellectual Goon Cave, and that freedom to rationalize and segment everything as you like combines the satisfaction of building a big house in Minecraft with the self-made solutions of Infinifactory. There's moments in this game that are incredibly hard to describe to people who haven't played it, but are extremely memorable in the combined sense of confusion and joy that they develop. One of those moments, which happened deeper into my first playthrough, was when I set up a half-remembered set of items. A pile-up of a product that I'd had too much of when neighbored by a couple of items that I only had 2 or 3 of. One of the requests in a set was a bulk order of the item that was overstocked. I took it to the desk, and I thought nothing of it. I reorganized the space during the downtime between orders, still nothing. The next sequence requested one of the items that had been stored next to the previously larger pile, and my brain broke. I could not remember where the second item was, because when I stored the throwaway items, I hadn't put them into a category to be remembered, I put them in an area that was defined by an overstock that no longer existed. I eventually found it after a lot of flailing, but that moment had me rethink how I wanted to store those items. But to rethink it meant having to reorganize a whole quarter of the warehouse, because there was so much to store, which meant destroying previous logic and creating new logic, which is why camels go next to fireworks. Going back to a previous warehouse, I was looking at the map, and you can see pockets of logic that are completely reasonable, and sections that are schizophrenic. But it's my schizophrenia, and at the time that would have made perfect sense to me. Creating that mental map and then navigating your own mental map only to uncover the problems that you'd never considered was an extremely satisfying venture, and while a seemingly very simple or mundane game, I think it might be some of the best 2 hours that I'd spent in the last year. If you're looking to lose your mind in the Argos of your own creation, I'd recommend getting a job. But if you're looking for something that strikes the self-made problems of Zachtronic games with a more laid-back feel, with an emphasis on how you think over how the problems make you think, then I'd highly, highly recommend Wilmot's Warehouse.